Okay, everyone, I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden my phone just completely shut off. So, right in the middle of our video. So, I do apologize. So, we're going to get back and we're going to finish. I'm going to finish showing you how I was finishing off. Also, I haven't been able to, my son has not been able to see any comments. So, I don't know if Facebook is having problems or what the deal is. But between my phone and Facebook, we're having technical difficulties. So, I'm going to get started. I'm going to finish showing you what I was doing. I did see one comment when I was going through trying to retrieve everything. Do I roll my fabric under? The answer is no, I do not do that, because when I ironed my 2-inch piece in half, I took the raw edge and I sewed the raw edge to the other raw edge of the border, and therefore I already have a nice finished edge. So I'm going to show you that finished edge. Da, da, da. Let's see. And this, where's my hand? Okay. Sorry guys, this is really tough to do. This edge is already finished. See that? This was the raw edge that went against the other raw edge. But once we attached, this is the nice edge. So you'll have a nice edge when you iron this piece in half. You'll have one raw, one nice. Okay. I do apologize. I'm sorry. Doing my best here.
We both are. 5 people watching.
You don't need to tell me that.
Okay.
So do you remember earlier when I was stretching my fabric and I puckered it and all that? This is the reason why, because I needed this piece to line up right here. And it did, with very little big time errors. So, oh, and I need to stop right here or we're going to have a real problem. Ooh. I need to switch to the blue again. Alright, I'm going to take this on and thread the machine. Wow, this thread is so much thinner than my brown thread.
Good catch, thread switch.
Yeah, I almost did the I almost didn't catch that. Oh. All right. So go back over here. I've got a lot of bulk in here, so and that part of it is done. So now we've gotten it all stitched down. Just going to cut these threads that I have on the back of my quilt from where I started. That's good. So now, as you can see, we've tacked down, as I still have thread everywhere. Sorry guys. You can come a little closer, Chris. So what we did was we tacked it down So now you can't see any of the yucky stuff underneath. So all that batting and everything is all enclosed in there. Now what I like to do with mine, see, I have mistakes. I didn't sew straight. It's okay. Not worried about it. I don't worry about stuff like that. And it turns out beautiful and it's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do my decorative stitch on top of here and down, and then this piece will be done. And then I'll square it up, cut off all the excess that doesn't need to be there, and then we'll shut down for the day or for the afternoon, and then I will come back and show you how to do the binding. Okay? So I'm going to finish this right now. Christian's going to keep the camera on the sewing machine so you can watch what I'm doing. And then we're going to take a break.
And get some lunch.
And get some lunch. All right. So
Okay, let's get behind here.
So I'm just using my number 16 wavy stitch, just like this one that I've been quilting with on some of my blocks that I'm not stitching in the ditching on. And I just put this nice top stitch on top because I just think it gives it a pretty finished look, and it's more, it goes more with the theme of the quilt. So that's what I do. Plus it helps hold it down and makes things pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this top off. I'm not worried about the bottom because the bottom is brown, and I'm getting ready to go on to brown again.
Lazy dog.
She thinks this quilt is hers. She likes to lay on it.
You should make it for her.
No. She can sleep on it, I don't mind. Okay. So then we're going to start with our brown now. We're going to go wavy on our brown. And I'm just going to continue. And no, I did not change the bobbin.
Wow, that is so pretty.
Thank you.
That was from Joyce Orwell.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to keep pushing her through.
I am making my cat one. He likes to lay on quilts, so I made a 2-block one for him.
That's awesome.
We'll make him a bigger one soon.
I love
That's
it.
from Pamela Hammersley.
That is awesome. I love it.
How many rows did you end up making this one, Anissa?
How many rows? Good question. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll have to look at it when it's done. I'll show it to you. This quilt is huge.
It's a big one.
It's bigger than I thought it was going to be.
And the other comment is absolutely love the colors.
Thank you.
Is it for the bookcase?
Yes, it's in the bookcase. Thank you very much.
Did you use a pattern for this quilt?
Did I use what?
A pattern for this quilt.
Yes and no. So all of these little things that are on here, that is an actual pattern, and it's done through paper piecing. And so, yes, I paper pieced each one of these little things on here and sewed them together. And I did use a pattern, and it is done by a woman. Her name is Jennifer Ofenstein, and she does a lot of charity quilts, but this one in particular is called the Project of Doom. And she has a website that you can actually go to, and it is Sew Hooked. It's S-E-W, hooked, HOOKED.com. And you can look at all the patterns that she has. You can't resell the patterns or anything like that, and if you do choose to do it for a charity, you do have to get her approval first because she designed all of it. But that part of it, yes, that is her design. Most people who do this quilt decide to do, they do more rows, and it's not done so much as a quilt as you go. They just kind of do it as a quilt top and then send it to a quilter and have it long arm quilted. This one is 100% quilt as you go. As you can see, here's a strip right here because I didn't want this to be part of the actual brown bookcase. So I just used the background fabric and did it that way. But yeah, go check her out. She's really terrific. I mean, I really love her stuff. This will be the only Harry Potter quilt that I will ever make, though. I will tell you that. It has been a challenge.
Well, thank you. Very nice.
You're welcome. Thank you. We're just about there, kids. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so this particular quilt with all of the brown, and since I did all the backing in brown, took about 10 yards of fabric. And I was originally going to do the border, the binding, sorry, border, I can't think, the binding with that, but I decided that I'm going to do it in this aqua color instead.
How long have you been quilting on this?
Since January. I started this in, I think the second week of January. And I would just come home and just work on it after work.
Would that be the week Alex was born? Second week of January?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's when I started this quilt. And then, what was I going to say? I don't even remember what I was going to say. Who knows? It'll come to me. Okay, it's done. We're finally done. All right, so now we're gonna do, I'm just gonna square it up and then I'm gonna show you just how awesomely cool it is before we start doing the binding later on this afternoon. And plus I need to clean up my little area because it's a mess. I should call myself the sloppy sewer. Jeez, I tell you, I have thread and stuff everywhere. My husband will probably be so happy when we get our dining room back.
Why, we never use it.
I know, that's what he told me too. Oh no, doesn't matter to me. So, I square my stuff up a little differently as well because I just do what works for me. So I'm going to show you what works for me. Sorry, cutting off loose threads. Okay, I have my handy dandy rotary cutter tool. So these little rotary cutters, if you don't have one, they're really not that expensive. You can pick up a smaller one, a 40 millimeter, I think for probably 12 bucks. And if you buy them off of Amazon, you can get them for even less. This one is a 60 millimeter. I think I gave 20 for it. I don't remember. It's been so long. But they're really, really handy to have. So this is a great investment. And so is one of these. And so is a cutting mat. If you don't have one, you can use scissors to cut. And the only thing I would advise is that you have a pretty decent straight edge to work with on that because you don't want to flub it up. But if I didn't have my rotary cutter, I would just place my scissors near and I would just cut. But I have a rotary cutter, so I'm going to do it that way. So there's that. So that side is done. And all I'm doing is lining up with the edge of the rest of my border. I have it on the bottoms too.
Sorry I missed the beginning. Did you quilt the borders before attaching?
Yes. Yes, I did. I would recommend doing all the quilting before you start attaching. So yes, every piece was done before. So I quilted the bookcase pieces first. I did the borders first, and then I attached. And that was the other thing I was going to talk about, and I'm losing my train of thought again. Batting. So I do, and I showed this video the other day. I popped in real quick when I was doing when I was quilting one of the borders. And so, as you can see, I have my backing, my batting, and then my top. And so when I do mine, the way I do it is, say for instance, okay, so this border itself was, it's 6.5 inches, okay? And I had questions about what size do I do my backing and my batting at that point in time. So what I do is I cut my backing bigger. I cut that to 8 inches. And then my batting, I cut about 10 inches. And I just do it, I don't measure out my batting. I just kind of eyeball it and make sure that it's big enough, that it's bigger than my backing. And that it's bigger than basically my top piece. And that way I can quilt it. And I don't have to worry about shifting or moving or any of that because there's plenty of room. So, but this is how I'm measuring my selvage here to cut off. All right. I know I'm perfectly in line, so I'm not worried about that. But if I was, I'd be lining up right here and making sure that I'm lined up on my seam lines and all of that. But I am, so I'm not worrying about it right now. But that's how you square it off. And again, you can do what works for you. If it looks straight and it works, then do how it works. You know, what's going to work for you. There's no right or wrong way. The only thing I would say that you have to be careful of is when you're quilting something, and this is, I've learned this from personal experience. Make sure that you always cut with 1/2 inch. So if you're going to make a baby quilt with 5-inch squares, make sure that you cut your squares 5.5 inches. That way you have a seam allowance for that 1/4 of an inch. I hope that makes sense, because I have really flubbed things up before.
Thanks are so helpful to a lot of us quilters that are beginners and others that need to know. And another one said, "Hi Anissa, it's helpful for many of us."
Awesome. I'm so glad it's helpful for you guys. I'm glad you guys are learning. I wish that this kind of stuff had been around when I was learning, because I'll tell you what, I'd have saved myself a lot of headaches. But that's part of the fun too, is, you know, you just go and you learn. And don't be afraid to start a quilt and
screw up.
Yeah, because I'll show you what I did. So I want you guys to see mistakes that are made, but they're really not that big of a deal, okay? So when I made this one yesterday, and you can see it, that's a pretty big boo-boo, right? Well, this is because I didn't sew the blue piece and the brown piece together first, like I did on the other side today. Because I learned, I was like, okay, that's not going to work. Well, and then if you watch the other video, you'll see where I was stretching to make sure that they lined up. And they do line up perfectly. I'm going to show you. So bear with me here. So now you can see where it lines up perfectly. That's because I did this first and I screwed it up. I mean, I royally screwed it up. And I could have seam ripped it out. Keep your eye over here.
I got you.
I could have seam ripped that out, but you know, I really feel like some of these things really do give a quilt some really cool character, you know?
Someone asks, is that a quilt measuring board I see?
Yes, it's an actual cutting board, a cutting mat.
Yeah,
it's a cutting mat for cutting fabric on, and it's awesome because it has the measurements and the lines and everything that you can line up to.
Like I said, if you make mistakes, it just shows the work you put into it.
That's right.
And that it was not made in a factory.
That's exactly right. And that's why I'm showing all the mistakes that I've made, because I think it's important for people to understand that it doesn't matter. You know, it's a handmade thing. Everything has boo-boos in them, and that's what makes them so unique. It's like she said, it's not a manufactured quilt. Okay, so I'm going to show you what it looks like now. Now that it's all finished and squared up, you're gonna, I don't know if you can see it from here.
Perfect. And Sophie's in the shot too.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, you can see it top to bottom.
Okay, good. And then I'm going to show you the back. You can't probably see all the stitching on there, but there's plenty of it. Probably just looks like a brown mass of nothing. But that's it for today. I'm sorry, not for today, but for right now. So I will come back this afternoon and then we'll do a binding video. And we'll finish this little sucker. Is there anybody who would be interested if I did it like a Quilt As You Go kind of series? Is there anybody who would be interested in learning how to do like a quilt block with strips? Because I can certainly teach you how to do that. It's very easy. It's quick to put a quilt together that way. So if you're interested in a tutorial like that, let me know, and I can start something like that. We'd probably do like a block a week. That way everybody has time to get their stuff together. So just let me know, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you this afternoon.